We're getting closer and closer to opening night, and it feels like everything is clicking into gear. Well, nearly everything. I've been having a couple of issues with the prompter. Jenny's doing it, and the problem is she's not familiar with the play, so she keeps mistaking the long pauses that I have deliberately written into the script for dramatic effect for people forgetting their lines and attempts to prompt them. It's incredibly irritating. I don't understand what the problem is. I mean, it's not like I'm the first playwright to ever make use of the dramatic pause. Has she never heard of Harold Pinter? He's actually where I got the idea from. I bet he never had to deal with this sort of problem. Jenny's argument is that having a pause mid-sentence is confusing rather than dramatic, but how many plays has she written? 0. That I'm aware of. Fortunately, I've managed to come up with a solution. I've introduced a secret signal for the cast to use when they actually have forgotten their lines. They're going to rub their nose. It should be fail-proof. I just have to hope that nobody gets an itchy nose during the performance. I better warn them about that, actually. I'm very keen to get the publicity drive for the play started, but as always, Chris is being difficult. We're having a disagreement over how prominently my name should feature on the poster. I don't understand what his problem is. You know, ultimately, my name is a mark of quality, and it's important to emphasise that with a new production like this one. People need to be reassured that it won't be terrible before they'll be willing to buy a ticket. Okay, let's talk about the font size then. I'm 56 point or I'm nothing, Chris. Fine, 48 point it is, but I want to be in bold. Good. Okay then. Yeah, I'll see you later. Bye. Well, that's the publicity sorted. Now I need to have a chat with Paula about the end-of-run party. Well, it's very much the highlight of the player's central calendar. According to me anyway, but I'm sure Paula would agree with that if you asked her. Probably. That's fine, Paula. Can we just make sure that we have something for people to eat and not just shots of tequila like last time? Pringles don't count, Paula. Yeah, I have had a look at the timetable. I've got to be honest, I'm a little bit concerned that no time's been allocated for speeches. Well, I was thinking at least 30 minutes. We've got an emergency situation. Kevin has apparently let it be known that he's keen to stand for the committee at the next election. Which would be fine. I've got nothing against Kevin personally. He's a nice guy. The problem is that there's no space. No existing members are standing down, which means it will be a contested election. And the real problem is that Kevin is popular enough to win. I wouldn't be concerned if I could be sure that he was going to take Charles's seat. In fact, I'd be actively encouraging him. But unfortunately, there's no guarantee of that. Everybody's seat's at risk, including my own, so we're going to have to do something. Hi Charles, it's John. I assume you've heard about Kevin. Well, I think you need to declare a code black. What do you mean, what's a code black? Haven't you read my document on codes? Well, I don't have time to go through it now. You just need to call an emergency committee meeting so we can decide what to do about it. Yeah, I know we're due to hold one tonight anyway. Well, just bring it forward by half an hour. Then it technically still counts as an emergency meeting. I've just got back from the emergency committee meeting where we discussed this whole Kevin situation. I'm pleased to say that the entire committee was united. It's not often that happens. Everyone was very clear about how much we all like and appreciate Kevin. That's absolutely not the issue here. It's just that being a committee member is a very specific role that requires a very specific temperament. And it just doesn't feel like Kevin is necessarily that person. However much we all like him. And we do all like him. I want to be very clear about that. And don't get me wrong, I'm all in favour of getting fresh blood onto the committee, but The committee, as currently constituted, has a very delicate equilibrium, and if that were to be disturbed, well, there could be all sorts of chaos. As Charles pointed out, we don't even know if Kevin has any leadership experience. He's an unknown quantity, a potential loose cannon. And the last thing you want on the committee of an amateur theatre group is a loose cannon. Or any kind of heavy artillery, really. In the end, we agreed that the best solution would be to bring forward the AGM, which is when the elections take place. Unfortunately, that's going to clash with Kevin's holiday to the US, so he won't be able to attend. I don't think he'll mind too much, though. In fact, I think he'll be pleased, if anything. Now, he'll have a much better time there anyway. I mean, he's got tickets to Disney World, so he can't be too upset. I should probably explain how the committee election process works. A new committee is technically elected at the AGM every year, but there is an unwritten rule that existing members will be automatically re-elected unless they decide to stand down. Unfortunately, as the rule is unwritten, there is technically nothing to stop Kevin from standing. Then, once the elections have taken place, the committee allocates positions to vote among themselves, which is how I unjustly ended up as treasurer rather than chair, but I won't get into that again now. To be on the safe side, Charles and I are going to meet Kevin for a coffee to see if we can get him to think again about this whole election thing. I did try to convince Charles that we should adopt a good cop, bad cop routine, but he didn't go for it. It's probably for the best. His performance in an Inspector Calls left a lot to be desired. Well, that went surprisingly well. It turns out that Kevin never had any intention of standing for the committee, and the whole thing was just a rumour. Well, thank God for that. I just hope we didn't accidentally put the idea into his head. That would be a disaster. Oh well, we'll cross that bridge if we come to it. We're into the home straight now. There are only a few rehearsals left to get us summer and springtime ready for the first performance in a couple of weeks' time. I've been busy writing an inspirational speech ready to give the cast ahead of opening night. I think it's going to knock their socks off. I've also been making a list of all the things that could go wrong, just so I can make sure that I'm mitigating them. I'll be honest, some are more likely than others, but on the off chance that the village hall is invaded by rats, I want to be prepared.